I'll never forget the first time I saw Mr. Willie. It was my first week at the company, my first real job after college. I had a cheap suit, a nervous smile, and no clue what I was doing. I remember walking through the bright office hallways, trying to look confident even though I felt completely out of place. That's when I noticed him. He was pushing a mop bucket down the hallway, whistling some old tune that felt warm and familiar, even though I didn't recognize it. He moved slowly, but with purpose, like he wasn't just cleaning the floors, he was tending to them, taking care of something that mattered. He wore a faded blue jumpsuit with Willie stitched over the pocket. His back was slightly bent, his hair mostly gray, and his hands looked like they'd worked 1,000 hard days. But there was peace in his eyes. Not the kind you see often. This was the kind of peace that comes from knowing who you are, even when the world doesn't see you. Most people didn't pay him any mind. Some barely acknowledged him. Others made little jokes or gave him looks like he was invisible. A few even laughed behind his back. Old Man Mop, they called him when they thought he couldn't hear. But he always just smiled, nodded, and kept working. I didn't know why it bothered me so much, but it did. There was something about him, something quiet, but strong. I started saying good morning to him every day. Nothing fancy. Just a simple, "Morning, Mr. Willie." Every time he'd flash that same warm smile and say, "Make today count, young blood." I didn't get it at first. It sounded like something from a movie. But over time, those words stayed with me. I started talking to him more. Little things at first. Asking how his day was going. Making small talk while waiting for coffee. But the more I talked, the more I realized Mr. Willie wasn't just a janitor. He was a storyteller, a quiet observer, and somehow, he always knew exactly what to say. One day I was having a terrible morning. I had messed up a big report, and my manager was furious. I felt like a complete failure. I went to the break room to be alone, but Mr. Willie was already there, wiping down the counter. He saw me slump into the chair and said gently, "You look like the world sat on your shoulders, son." I laughed a little, but it cracked into something more. Something real. I told him what happened. He listened quietly, didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it. Then he said something I'll never forget. Sometimes life puts you on the floor, not to keep you down, but so you can see what you're made of when you get back up. That hit me hard. He didn't say much else after that, just gave me a pat on the shoulder and went back to work. But from that moment on, I saw him differently. I also started noticing things others didn't, like how he was always the first one in the building, how he cleaned up messes no one else bothered with, how he fixed broken things quietly, without being asked or thanked. I saw how he treated everyone with kindness, no matter how they treated him. He remembered people's birthdays. He asked about their families. He left notes on people's desks when they were having a hard day, just saying, "Keep your head up." Most folks still didn't see him, but I did. And then everything changed. One Friday morning, the CEO, Mr. Harrington, called for an all-hands meeting. That never happened unless it was something big. People were buzzing with gossip, layoffs, maybe a merger. No one knew for sure. We all packed into the main conference room. Mr. Harrington stood at the front with a small wooden box in his hands and a serious look on his face. He didn't waste time. He said, "Today, I want to talk about leadership. Not the kind you read about in business books. Not the kind that comes with titles or offices. I want to talk about the kind that shows up every single day without needing applause." He paused, looking around the room. There's a man in this building who has led more quietly, more humbly, and more consistently than anyone I've ever known. For over 20 years, he's shown us what it means to care. He's built the spirit of this company with nothing but hard work, kindness, and integrity. Then he looked toward the back of the room and said, "Mr. Willie, would you come up? Here?" The room went silent. People turned and stared. A few chuckled nervously, thinking it was a joke. But Mr. Harrington wasn't smiling. Mr. Willie looked surprised, shocked even. But he walked up slowly, confusion on his face, hands trembling a little. Mr. Harrington opened the box and pulled out a small silver key ring. "These," he said, holding up the keys, "are the symbolic keys to the company. Today, I'm stepping down, and there's no one I trust more to carry forward the heart of this place than you." The room gasped. I saw people's eyes widen. Some still thought it couldn't be real. But then I saw tears in Mr. Harrington's eyes, and I saw Mr. Willie's hands shaking as he took the keys. Mr. Willie tried to speak, but he couldn't. His voice caught in his throat. After a long pause, he finally said, "I just came here to mop the floors. I never thought I'd be given the whole building." He shared a bit of his story that day, how he once owned a small construction business, how he lost everything during the recession, how he took the janitor job just to keep food on the table. But he never stopped showing up, never stopped trying to be a good man. That day, everything changed. The people who used to laugh, they cried. The ones who ignored him, they lined up to shake his hand. And me? I felt like I was witnessing something sacred. Mr. Willie didn't become CEO in the traditional sense. He didn't take over the corner office with the glass walls. He never wore a fancy suit or carried around a leather briefcase. You wouldn't catch him speaking at shareholder meetings or signing million-dollar contracts, but make no mistake, he led. He led in a way most CEOs never do. From that day forward, Mr. Willie became the heartbeat of the company. The official title didn't matter. What mattered was the respect, the trust, the way people listened when he spoke, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. He still pushed his mop bucket from time to time, not because he had to, but because he wanted to stay close to the ground, to stay humble. He said the floor taught him everything he ever needed to know. And he believed the only way to stay grounded was to never rise too far above the people you serve. He started sitting in on team meetings, not to manage, but to guide. He'd ask questions no one else thought to ask. What are you doing to lift up the person next to you? Does your work make someone else's day easier or harder? He made us think, not just about deadlines and profits, but about people. He mentored new hires like they were his own kids. He'd take them on quiet walks through the building, pointing out not just what we do, but who we are. He taught them how to treat the janitor and the CEO with the same respect, how to listen before speaking, how to own up to mistakes and grow from them. And slowly, the culture of the company began to change. People greeted each other in the halls. Managers started listening more, talking less. Departments began working together instead of in silos. We celebrated small wins. We lifted each other up, and whenever things got tough, when the stress started to pile up or morale dipped, you could count on Mr. Willie to gather us around, lean on his mop like it was a walking stick, and remind us why we were here. He didn't talk about quarterly goals or market trends. He talked about purpose, about heart, about showing up every day not just to earn a paycheck, but to make a difference in someone else's day. He didn't need a title to lead us. He didn't need a degree or a spotlight or a six-figure salary. All he needed was his truth and the courage to live it out loud. And every morning, even after all the praise and recognition, he still greeted me the same way, like nothing had changed at all. Make today count, young blood. It was his way of saying, be kind. Work hard, lift someone up, leave things better than you found them. And now, after all this time, after all the lessons he's quietly passed down, I finally understand what he meant. Making today count isn't about climbing the ladder. It's not about titles or trophies. It's about showing up. It's about giving your best, even when no one's watching. It's about being the kind of person who leaves a mark, not in ink, but in the hearts of others. Mr. Willie taught us that leadership has nothing to do with where you sit, and everything to do with how you serve. And I carry his words with me every single day. not just in work, but in life. Make today count.